Her father is a violent offender who not only shot a man in the head in a drug deal gone bad, but earlier attacked two women at gunpoint. Why did Child Protective Services think placing Harmony Montgomery in a house with this guy without power was a good idea? Welcome to the weekly crime recap on Profiling Evil. We're coming live from San Diego, California, and I hope that you'll take a moment and hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell so that you receive all of our notifications on other important videos like this one. And please, folks, consider our new channel memberships, especially the new Profiling Evil Academy. It's the only place where you're going to get our special content, and it's not available anywhere else. Now, let's talk about Harmony Montgomery. Harmony has been missing since October of 2019. But what's happening in the case of the 7-year-old child who vanished? Police have held a few press conferences and conducted a search at her home. They arrested Harmony's father for abuse after learning more about an assault that he allegedly committed against the little child. Her stepmother was also arrested for fraud charges related to the child, and her biological mother is flinging arrows at everyone for not rescuing the kid. I continue to wonder where she's been for the past 2 years as well, and I know some of you have jumped right to her defense. I'm not attacking mom, but I'm wondering about what she and other extended family members have done and where they've been. I keep waiting for something like, I don't know, copies of emails, social media accounts, letters, attorney visits, court appointments, anything that suggests that they were putting forth the effort that they now say they did. It seems to me that a parent with a missing child would have record of those attempts, and there would be a lot of them. The last confirmed sighting of Harmony by law enforcement was on September 11th, 2019. Boy, doesn't that date keep popping up in our history. On that date, Manchester police responded to the Guilford Street home where she lived. They would respond to that residence at least 10 times in the months leading up to the disappearance. The reason for the police calls for service varied, but it included domestic violence disturbance, concerns about the living conditions in the home, and complaints about animal welfare. Did you hear that, folks? Animal welfare. There were concerns for the animal being lodged, but I didn't hear anything about concerns for this child who was blind in one eye, forced to clean the toilet with her own toothbrush, and possibly beaten or thrown about the house like a relative has apparently testified. While the mayor and even the governor of the state explained how quickly they responded and how much they've done, I wonder about those calls for service in the months before she disappeared. I wonder about the month that passed from the time that Harmony's biological mother, Crystal Sorey, did get through, reporting that she notified the police about her daughter. She said that happened around November 18th. And police say they passed the concern on to the New Hampshire Division for Children. Again, November 18th. Now, if that date's accurate, why did the Family Services Group wait for another month before checking on the welfare of that child, reportedly doing so on December 27th? Now, the media could have gotten the dates wrong. And New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu defended the state, saying, quote, as soon as we found out that this child may not have been showing up for school for some time, it was reported up to us. The team got right on it. It wasn't a delay. That it didn't sit in a file on somebody's desk, close quote. Well, when Family Services couldn't find the child, they notified police who launched an investigation 4 days later. Now, we often speak about how important the first 48 hours are in these kinds of investigations. At this particular point in time, Harmony had been missing for more than 18,000 hours. This is beyond disastrous, folks. Well, hey, folks, as you may or may not be aware, we have a new channel lineup for 2022. On the first and third Tuesday, we're continuing the concept of choir practice, but we now simply call it Profiling Evil Live. On the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, we have our season 2 podcast, Cults Among Us. You can catch me on Tuesday nights also on Court TV after our show, and every Thursday for the weekly crime recap. And don't forget to watch for our 60-second short videos. Now, for those of you who support us through channel memberships, there's also something new and really cool called the Profiling Evil Academy. It begins February 7th. Academy members will get access to a bunch of new videos that describe the criminal profiling process, law enforcement issues, and other relevant content. We also have periodic lives for Academy members only. I just want to shout out and thank all of you who have helped us through these channel memberships. You know, you can do so for as little as $1.99 a month. So thanks, and let's get back to our discussion. Since we've been talking the correlation of animal abuse and child abuse, let's talk about Ethan Crumbley for a minute, the school shooter from Wisconsin. And let's jump over to his case with the new information that's come out in this case that left 4 children dead and a whole lot more injured. New lawsuits are coming down the pike that allege that Crumbley was abusing animals, something that experts say is a precipitator to human abuse and assault. Listen as Florida State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg shares his passionate opinion of the transition between animal cruelty and homicide. It happened on Court TV as he and I visited with Julie Grant. Now, it reminds me of training that I received in profiling, where the FBI experts would talk about the homicidal triangle, something where serial killers have 3 things in common: fire starting, bedwetting, and animal cruelty.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. Accused school shooter Ethan Crumbley appeared in court on Wednesday for an arraignment hearing. He is being charged as an adult on 24 criminal counts, including first-degree murder and terrorism, for fatally shooting 4 of his classmates and injuring 7 others, allegedly. Now, this also comes as new documents of a lawsuit brought by the parents of one of the surviving victims against the Oxford Community School District are revealing some very disturbing allegations. In the amended lawsuit, it alleges that on November 11th of last year, this is just before the shooting was carried out, Ethan Crumbley brought to school a severed bird's head. This is a case I especially want to talk about with our guest on the program today, the state attorney in Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Ehrenberg, and also with us, retired police commander and the host of the Profiling Evil podcast, Mike King. So great to have you both. Dave, I thought of you when I saw this bit about the lawsuit hit the news, and I know how passionate you are about animal abuse cases, protecting animals. I know that even though you're the head in your office, you make it a point to prosecute all the animal abuse cases because you feel so strongly about it. There is a link, isn't there, between animal violence and human violence?
Yes, Julie, I encourage everyone to follow you on Twitter because you brought this out. You were absolutely right that there is a defined link between a violence against animals and then humans. You see that it starts with animals, then it goes to domestic violence, and then it goes into murder. This is what happens. And
Julie went on to ask me about the impact that police officers have in the school system and what things would keep our children safer in school. Let's watch.
Mike King is somebody who has so much experience and expertise serving in law enforcement. I've got a tough one for you that I love talking to law enforcement officials about because it's a tough problem that we obviously haven't solved in America, and resources are an obstacle. We know that. But if resources were not an obstacle, what do you think would help keep our children safer in schools? If you could put any procedures, policies, anything into place, if you were calling the shots, Mike King, what should be done, please?
Personnel, for one thing, training and educating not only the student, the staff, and parents. I look at the changes that have happened in the last 20 or 30 years with things like school resource officers and how we've actually seen declines in the number of incidents that are fatal in many cases that are single episodes, not these mass shooting episodes. But because there was a police officer on scene that could immediately get out, that was interacting with the kids, that the children in the school were accustomed to and would actually share information with, and that was collaborating with administration. Those are such important positions. Then what we've seen with the training in law enforcement on how to respond to an active shooter, and we saw it in so many cases in the last couple of years. Tragically, we've become experts at how to get in and try to resolve a problem quickly. And we see police officers going into harm's way and going through and taking care of a problem as quickly as possible. So there were great lessons learned that way. But then, we've seen in the last couple of years a real push for more mental health counselors in the law enforcement profession. I'm completely against mental health professionals being the first responder, but I'm absolutely behind them being available when police officers have something controlled, a scene controlled, and can go in and do some evaluation with a little different set of eyes than the police officer who's there to solve a problem.
Well, what do you think of the correlation between animal cruelty and homicide? I'm going to be looking for your answers down below on this one, and I want to thank you for taking time to weigh in on this. We'll continue to watch it and keep you updated. Now, let's talk about the police officer who shot a man for jumping on the hood of his personal vehicle in North Carolina and assaulting his family. Let's talk stand your ground laws. It happened in Fayetteville, North Carolina, when this off duty sheriff's deputy shot and killed a man that he says was threatening his family. The sheriff's lieutenant stopped when he noticed a man running across the street toward his vehicle. He didn't want to hit him. The man jumped on the hood of his truck and tore the windshield wiper off, and then started pounding the windshield of the truck, breaking it. The lieutenant said he feared for the safety of his family and himself, and he shot the attacker to prevent the assault. He then immediately dialed 911 to report the shooting. Let's listen to that 911 call and the discussion that we have with Julie Grant on the Stand Your Ground laws.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
Yes, sir, it's an emergency. I'm on Shenandoah and Bingham Drive. I just had a male jump on my vehicle and break my windshield. I just shot him.
You just shot, sir? You said you shot him?
Yes, he jumped on my car.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to get our help to you, okay? What's your name?
Yes, I'm a lieutenant with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, listen to me. Are you right beside the subject?
I am.
Okay, is he breathing?
He's gone, man.
You said
no, ma'am,
okay.
He's not. He's gone.
When did this happen?
Just now.
Okay.
I need you to talk to these people gathering.
Okay, all right, listen to me. What kind of vehicle are you in?
I am in a red Ford F-150. He has shattered my windshield.
Okay, I understand. What kind of vehicle was he in?
Just keep moving, ma'am. I'm the deputy sheriff. Come here. He jumped on my vehicle. I just had to shoot him.
Okay, can you tell me what happened?
I was driving down the road, and he came flying across Bingham Drive running, and then I stopped so I wouldn't hit him, and he jumped on my car and started screaming, pulled my windshield wipers off, and started beating my windshield and broke my windshield. I have my wife and my daughter in my vehicle.
Okay. Did he have any weapons, sir?
No, he just tore my wipers off and started beating the door.
Okay.
He busted my windshield. I don't know, ma'am.
All right. Take deep breaths for me, okay? How many people are surrounding you?
You what now, ma'am?
How many people are out there around you?
There's tons of cars and people gathering around. Okay. He had a light post right now. The EMS here now.
Okay, they are en route, okay? Where was he shot?
I have a trauma nurse out here.
Okay, I understand. Can somebody tell me where he was shot?
Do you find the holes, ma'am? No. I'm seeing blood on this side, ma'am.
Okay. Is she getting a clean, dry cloth?
Call Papa now. Here's the towel. Where did you shoot him, sir? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Just focus on me for a minute, okay? Does somebody have a clean, dry cloth?
Ma'am, say again.
Okay. Does anybody have a clean, dry cloth?
Yes, we are plugging the holes now.
Okay, all right. Tell her to keep pressure on the hole and don't lift it up.
Here now. Where did you shoot him? Where did you shoot him? I don't know. He was on the front of my vehicle. He jumped in my car. Where's the entry point? I do not know.
Okay, all right. Don't engage with them. Just talk to me, okay?
Okay, I'm trying to check my daughter. My wife is.
I understand. I understand.
People are hostile right now.
Mike, I want to begin with you on this one. You've been out there serving. You know what it's like to have very scary incidents happen. Tell me, what is your assessment of the situation and the facts as we know them with this incident, please?
Well, my deepest condolences to this man's family and everyone who had to witness this, including this deputy's family. This is again the ugly side of the use of force. And while this deputy, I would suspect, is represented in part by the Deputy Sheriff's Association and has some insurance for off-duty kinds of events like this. This case is going to be one of those that remains in the public spotlight for some time, not only because a person of color was killed, but because a human being was killed, and he was killed without a weapon. This is going to be really interesting. I'm going to really look forward to Dave's opinion on that stand your ground law and where it might apply in a situation like this, and should this person have backed up. But it shows how quickly these things can escalate. And then, of course, you could feel the pressure. I mean, my heart's just thumping, trying to imagine what that scene was like as that deputy was trying to not only maintain some control at the scene. I was grateful that a trauma nurse was there working on this individual and they were rendering first aid, that he was immediately on sharing what happened with dispatch. And I want to just finally say, Julie, thank you so much to this PSAP operator, this dispatcher who followed the protocol to start walking through things like assessing the condition and making sure first aid's happening and getting people on the way to help him. These are terrible situations. Having been in situations where I discharged my weapon, I'll tell you, it makes my heart just race right now.
Right, and it sounded like that lieutenant's heart was racing as he was talking. Dave Ehrenberg, to you on this one, this is a question that many in our newsroom were talking about today, and I think this is a perfect one for you. When we know this officer, this lieutenant, excuse me, has a status of, being an officer under the law, but is off duty. Talk to us, please, about, is anything different under the law in terms of laws you can invoke and being able to protect oneself in a situation, whether you serve in law enforcement or you're just a citizen who does not?
Well, Julie, everyone is entitled to the stand your ground law. It depends on the state. And since he was off duty, he would be treated like a civilian who was taking advantage of stand your ground. And stand your ground would say if he was in reasonable fear of his life and he was in fear of his life where the other person was threatening him or his family, he can use appropriate force. Now, to me, the key is whether it is true that the individual had grabbed the windshield and was smashing through the windshield wiper and smashing through the windshield. Because if that's the case, you can then see how the off-duty police officer would then think he's in fear of his life.
The question is whether he had an obligation to try to back up and get away from the assailant, or if he stood his ground and it's legal. Stand your ground laws in North Carolina may protect him from prosecution. In fact, North Carolina law says, quote, a person is justified in the use of deadly force and does not have a duty to retreat in any place he or she has the lawful right to be if either of the following apply. Number one, you reasonably believe that such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another, or you were in your home, vehicle, or workplace, and that the person against whom the defensive force was used was an unlawful intruder or was attempting to forcibly and unlawfully enter one of the above. close quote. Well, he clearly was in a vehicle and the intruder was banging on the front windshield. How would you rule in this case if you were on the jury? I'm going to be reading your comments down below. Now, I want to talk about the report released in the Moab police handling of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie's domestic violence case.
An independent review into the handling of the case of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie shows that the Moab City Police Department made a few unintentional mistakes in the August 12th, 2021 call. Listen as we discuss this case on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. So a new report is released on Wednesday revealing some details in the Gabby Petito case we haven't heard about before. A complaint was filed with the Moab City Police Department, and then an independent agency completed a review of how the situation was handled back on this day, August 12th, 2021, that violence incident between Gabby Petito and her boyfriend or fiance, Brian Laundrie. So during this investigation, the independent agency found the officers who responded made several what they call unintentional mistakes, including that they should have cited Petito for domestic violence, assessing that she was the aggressor. Also found that a statement was never obtained from the original 911 caller. So the city of Moab released a statement responding to the report, saying they plan to implement the report's recommendations. They believe, quote, our officers showed kindness, respect, and empathy in their handling of this incident, end quote. Very hard to second guess law enforcement. I acknowledge that hindsight is 20/20, but let's look at this a little further. I want to bring back in our guests. Attorney Dave Ehrenberg and retired police commander Mike King. Mike, to you first on this one. Law enforcement making some unintentional mistakes. What do you see here, if anything, that was a mistake and what they did, please?
You know, this is the real big challenge that I think police officers face, because they are given a little latitude to decide at what point something is done, especially something that includes an arrest and detaining someone and sending them away, versus what they intended on doing, which was getting them in to see a judge the following day. In an era where we're seeing police officers challenged over and again for not having a big enough heart, now we're complaining because they erred on the side of trying to help out and give these kids a little slack. The problem is, you look at it and you wonder, could this have saved Gabby's life if she'd have been forced through an arrest into a position where she had to meet a judge and put things on the record?
Right.
You can check out the laws in your own state, but under Utah law, the term domestic violence can be defined as a pattern of abusive or aggressive behavior in a relationship where one partner has power or control over another intimate partner. Now, police officers should make an arrest if there's enough probable cause to believe that, number one, the accused may continue to hurt the victim. Number two, the accused has recently caused serious injury to the victim. Or, number three, the accused has violated a protective order. I don't believe Moab police felt that Gabby would hurt Brian again. And frankly, I don't believe that he wasn't capable of defending himself. The injuries were certainly not serious, and there wasn't a protection order in place. So this creates a really tough position for law enforcement. But it's a place where the report identified that mistakes were made. You know, this one could have really gone either way. I'd encourage you to go over to Court TV and watch the entire interview on this topic. But for now, I'm going to put a link below where you can read the Moab police case review. I'd like you to weigh in on whether you think police officer discretion should be taken away in these kinds of cases. Hey, and while you're at it, tell me if you think they would have benefited by having a social worker present. I'm going to be looking for your comments below.
Well, thanks for joining me for this week's crime recap. You can catch my weekly Court TV appearance on their channel, and you'll find additional links to the things that we've been talking about this week down below. Hey, folks, I hope you'll consider joining our channel memberships, especially the new Profiling Evil Academy. It's the only place that you're going to get special content not available anywhere else. The link is below, and while you're at it, I hope you'll hit the like and the subscribe button. And remember that you can find Profiling Evil on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you like podcasts, you can find Profiling Evil on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget, check us out on the World Wide Web at profilingevil.com. Thanks for all your support, and we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.